everyone, and welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is Friday, January 17th, 2025. This is episode number 295. I'm one of the hosts of this podcast, Jerry Evanoff, and with me, as he is each week, is Rich Kacy. And Rich, I am going to do everything that I possibly can to not fall asleep while we're recording because I am so unbelievably tired, mostly because of my last two nights, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. How are you?
I'm doing well. I mean, we're preparing for Snowmageddon, like I told you off air. I've got my fancy Harris tweed jacket on that I got the last time I was in Scotland, trying to stay warm. These things really are warm, by the way. You know, nothing like wool to keep you warm. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Was that $20 that you bought that?
Yeah, right, at the small one that
Yeah.
they had in Scotland.
Yeah.
And but I had a great week, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh, good. All right, so let me I'll jump into my stats here, and there's really not a whole lot to talk about. I'm officially now editing, so I'm not really keeping a word count when I'm doing that. I'm editing prequel novella, and I'm basically through chapter 1 so far. The word count's 28,020. It'll probably jump, but that's going to end up being a lot. I mean, my first novella, like in the time travel series, was like 25,000 words, and the first short story I read or whatever was much less than that for this series. I'm afraid this is getting to like 40,000 words and almost be a novel, but I'm going to give it away anyway. So I'm a little concerned about that. But in terms of my overall words for the year, I'm sitting at 7,189, moving toward my 145,000 word goal. I don't actually expect to get many over the next few weeks while I'm editing. In fact, I probably won't even keep track of like, oh, look, I worked for an hour and a half and I'm up 150 words, because that just kills my word count or my words per hour metric, and I don't want to hurt that. And then speaking of that metric, I'm at 1,462 words per hour right now. Again, great New Year's Day that started me off really high, and it's going to just move down slowly as the year goes on. Hopefully it ends up, I'm hoping to end up over 1,200 for the year, considering I was at like 1,140 or something like at the end of last year. So that would be nice.
Right. I've actually been thinking about this quite a bit. You know, how do I want to keep track of editing progress? And I am going to keep track of how many new words I actually add, but you know, that will kind of that'll only happen if I get, you know, plus words. If I take words out, then I'm just going to forget, you know, not count it. Because my goal for this year was to do the 200,000 words. And if, you know, some of them have to go by the wayside in editing. But I thought what I would do when I started editing is keep track of progress by percentage. And so, you know, if I get through, you know, so many words of the original draft, I can, you know, 10%, I can report 20% or whatever. And it gives you kind of a feel. I got this from Brandon Sanderson. That's kind of what he does when he's talking about his progress. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
In terms of my stats for the week, I did no editing on Romance Story 1, so that still stands at 56,257 words. But I did write a bunch of new stuff on the second romance story. I've actually added 9,322 words this week to that story. And it stands right now at 12,182 and 9 chapters on its way towards... The way it's going, it looks like it'll probably be on its way towards about 40 chapters or so, 40 or 45 chapters. Now, since I'm pantsing this one, I'm not plotting it at all. I don't really know how far it's going to go. You never know. It could turn out to be a novella. It could turn out to be a mega novel. Who knows?
How many chapters? How many chapters was the first one?
It was 32. So my word count per chapter is significantly lower on the second one than it was on the first one, but I purposefully tried to overwrite that first one, just as an exercise to see. And I think when I go through there and I start, well, I don't know, you know, it may get bigger or it may not. It may get smaller. I just never know it myself. You know, so much of it depends on the mood that I'm in, how it goes. The little spurt of productivity that I did have significantly boosted my average daily word count to 717 words, which is well above my target of 550 per day, which would give me 200K by the end of the year. So I'm feeling a lot better right now about being able to meet that goal, just because I think last week I was like at 250 some words per day. So I'm above it now. What I really need to do is keep pushing this over the next few weeks and months, just make sure I can get that average as high as possible, because it will, like you said on yours, it'll inevitably start to decline once I start editing. But either romance story 1, which I'll probably do first, or romance story 2. As for my social media presence push, after weeding out the bots that I gained during the week, I turned out to have 22 new real followers.
Wow.
So my total now is at 521. I posted most of the days across all 3 platforms, but my content is still really unfocused. I mean, I go all the way from planting, or from showing pictures of my plants, and like today I posted one of my potatoes that I harvested yesterday, and or all the way towards talking about writing. So, it's just all a mixed monster of stuff. That's probably something I need to correct as the year goes on, but we'll have to see.
I know the winning formula here, and I remember. Do you remember the TV show Cheers? And Cliff Clavin used to bring in potatoes that look like Richard Nixon all the time. So, and there's your money shot right there. That's what gets you the followers.
I could do that. Unfortunately, this batch, what I had done is in early October, I had planted, like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 seed potatoes, small pieces of seed potatoes, into some flower pots I had. I just wanted to do an experiment, see if I could grow potatoes in the fall. But I probably got about 4 or 5 pounds out of it. So yeah, I got something. So I think next year I'll plant up a whole bunch more. It was kind of fun to dump them out of their pots yesterday on the carport after I got home from work, and sift through the soil to see what I had. So
there you go.
It's kind of like a treasure hunt almost.
Yeah, right. All right. Looking at last week's recap, this is going to be a quicker podcast, at least on my end, because I didn't do a whole lot this week, even though I kind of felt like I did work. The weather is January is really, really trying to beat me, and it's getting close. Like I'm almost to my wit's end with this weather. It's been pretty awful. So Saturday last week, I was up early to dig out of the latest snowstorm yet again, and then off to Chick-fil-A. The roads were not great, but luckily there wasn't a whole lot of traffic out. I have to drive on to get to Chick-fil-A. I can kind of go some back roads if I want, but when the roads are bad, the back roads tend to be worse. So I right. go, for those of you familiar with the highway system here, I take Route 76, which goes a long way, I believe, east to west, and I take it for about 3 miles, and then I get off of it. So I'm only on it for like 3 miles at 70 miles an hour. That's the part where I'm really kind of white knuckling the steering wheel, hoping that the semis that are always going way faster than me don't spray me with enough snow to push me off the road. But then I get off the exit, so it's just one exit, which is fine. So it wasn't that bad of a drive. The first thing I did there, I'm still working on book 7 at this point, and I finished the editing of chapter 25. This is something that I started the previous Thursday so I could read it to the writers group. And I don't know if you remember, I when I read it, I told them, 75% of this is boring. Well, not boring, but it leads up to the exciting part at the end. And what I have for you is the 75% that is not the exciting part at the end. So I wanted to finish the editing of it. It seemed incomplete if I hadn't done that. So did that. I ended up adding about 300 new words to that chapter. And at this point, I'm sitting right now where I have 4 chapters left. These are 4 chapters directly after the midpoint. I guess in the 3-act structure, they'd be the action section of the book. And this is where I've really been struggling, where I want Sam to learn something very important about his father, something he'd been struggling with the entire first half of the book. But I want it to be a good thing. I want it to be something that eases his mind so that he can move on to try to solve the actual murder that happens. And the murder is connected to, loosely connected to his father.
So we can't do the inverse of Star Wars and say, Sam, I am not your father. That wouldn't work.
That might actually work, but I can think of a couple characters who could say that. It's actually not bad. That would cause a lot of controversy in the little town, because that would mean his mother slept with somebody else, and we're talking a whole new story, a whole new genre right now.
Did you ever see the show Young Sheldon?
I never watched it when it was on. I was not a Big Bang Theory fan.
One of the subplots in there is that Sheldon was not actually the son of his father.
Wait, was that real, or did it turn out
to
be true?
I don't remember, because I haven't seen the whole series.
Wow,
but I know the Sheldon's mother, quote unquote mother, her mother always kept on asking her, okay, tell me, who is Sheldon's real father?
Oh, you're kidding. So no, this is no lie. I literally watched a clip of that show on YouTube a couple days ago where his dad was talking. It was a football clip where his dad was like they're watching football and they're like punt on 4th down, and Sheldon says, no, statistically you should go for it. And they kept cutting to his mom, and I'm assuming that was her mom. I didn't know who it was, who kept saying, seriously, who is the father? And so now you're saying that's really funny. That's so coincidental, but that's really funny. I hope, scandal in Texas. I hope that's true. So at this point, I don't really know what to do, and I really don't want to sit with this anymore. I want to get back to writing something new or working on something new, so that by the time I get back to editing book 7, I'm going to be a long way through the series, and it might give me a better idea how to write that scene, because I just don't know what to do with those 4 chapters, or that whatever it turns out. 4 chapters is what I've plotted, but however many it turns out to be right after the midpoint. So I just called it done. I called my first draft done. That was my goal for last week, and I said, yeah, it's done. It's good. I'm good. I'll come back to it when I need to. So I decided that this is where I was going to start editing the prequel novella, because I really, really want to get it out there. But before I did that, I'm really enjoying using the Novel Crafter AI stuff just to literally ask questions about what I'm doing. So what I'll do is I'll pick a chapter. I'll make that my context, just one chapter. And then I'll use Claude's Sonnet is the one that's really expensive. It was costing me like 20 to 30 cents. This is with 20 to 30 codex entries and about probably 2,000 words in the chapters. It was costing about 20 cents every time I ask it, but I really, really love the output. The output was so spot on and accurate. It was way better than any of the other ones. But then I tried Claude Haiku, and that one, I was really happy with that. And that was only about 2 cents. So it was 10 times less. So Haiku is going to be probably my default. But when there will be times when I'm going to just say, hey, my context is the full book, and I have questions. I'm gonna use Sonnet, and if it costs me 20 to 30 cents, so be it. I'll only do a couple questions, and because I really, really like the output that it gives me.
Yeah, the token count that Haiku can take is not as big as Sonnet, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I at this point, before I left Chick-fil-A, I was just asking it to give me summaries of chapters, locations, objects, characters, that kind of thing. And then I was kind of building my codexes as I go. I have about 50 entries into my codex right now for the whole series. Well, I have I have probably 30 of them for the series, and then maybe 10 to 20 in the 3 books that I've started to put information. I put book 1 in there. I put my prequel novella that I'm working on. I put book 7 in there just because I was working on it anyway. So, so I have a lot. The only thing that I'm trying to figure out, well, there's a couple things that I have an issue with Novel Crafter, but they're nothing terrible. They're nothing that's going to stop me from using it. It really has to do with the font. The front page of it, the UI when you're writing, is still really noisy. There is stuff all over the place. You can go into a focus mode, but it still has so many things on the screen. I wish it was literally just like a Word document looking screen. And if I want to pull other stuff in, what's that?
Like what Scrivener does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I really like the UI of Scrivener. I think it's the best one out there. The other thing though that really bugs me, I've never seen this. I've played around with all these different writing softwares over the last 5 or 6 years. The thing that really gets to me is, I don't know the proper terminology for this, but when you're typing in any word processing program, you're typing from left to right, and each character just comes after the last character. When you get to the end of the line, it takes you to the next character, and you just keep takes the word if you need to the next line, then you just keep typing. I don't know why I explain that, because that's what everything does, except for Novel Crafter, where if you go in and you start editing the middle of a paragraph, it doesn't just move the stuff on the right, it moves the stuff on the left to the word also, to make sure that the line spacing is even. So sometimes you might be typing, and it's what am I looking for? It's distracting when you're typing. I think it's called, is it kerning? Is that the word I'm looking for?
The kerning is the space between each letter. Yeah.
Yeah, so what you'll see is spaces, not between, in this case, not between each letter, but in this case, it's between the words, where you'll type a big word, and to the left of it, it might be, a couple, I don't know, centimeters, a quarter of an inch, but to the right of it, it might be a half of an inch, because it's trying to space the words properly in the sentence, in that line, in the paragraph, and I haven't done any research yet to see if I could change the font. I mean, it's possible. It's a setting I don't know about, and I just need to go in and do it, but it's very distracting.
Yeah. I don't think I ever, well, at least I never noticed that, or I don't remember it when I was using it, but I will find out, because Well, as I'll say later, I took my eye off the ball and I suddenly have another whole year's subscription to Novel Crafter.
Oh no! Oh, good, great. Okay, good. Yeah, just go in and just start typing. It can be gibberish. It could be the whole
Yeah.
lorem ipsum thing, and just let me know if you notice how the words move not only to the right but to the left when you're editing in the middle of a paragraph, because
Okay.
that's what I'm talking about. So anyway, so I played around with that for a while, mostly using Claude Haiku as my main model, and it's so funny because I'll sit there and I'll have my open router tab open, and I'll just keep refreshing, looking at the money going down, going, oh, this one cost me 1 cent. Oh, this one was nothing. Like the ChatGPT Mini is like nothing. It costs you nothing. But
Right.
I like the Claude stuff better. Is the Claude, is that what ends up in what's the one writing app? Well, it was one of the first ones to use AI.
Oh, Suitorite?
Yeah, is that a Claude thing, or can you
Yeah.
choose? That's a Claude.
Well, it was originally a Claude thing. They may allow you to
Yeah.
choose anything now.
Okay.
Did you ever try out the Mistral model? Because
Yeah, I have tried it a little bit. Mistral Medium and Mistral Large. They seem fine. They to me were about the same as ChatGPT. I didn't try them very many times though, so it's possible that I just need to keep working at it. But the Claude Haiku is the one in terms of cost versus the quality that I get out. That's the one that really toes that line really well for me. So that's my default going forward. Sunday, I was off to Panera in the morning. Again, not much of anything new in terms of new words. I'm still trying to figure out this midpoint. But I kept thinking about this. I know I said I decided on Saturday, but I got there and I kind of playing around with it. I started talking to the AI about it, and I just could not come up with what I was looking for. This is where I started testing a little bit. I actually opened a Google Documents or Google spreadsheet and started typing like, here are the token count, and here's how much it cost me. Here's what I asked. Here was what I thought in terms of the quality, because I really wanted to do a little bit of research to see what was the best. And again, the Claude Haiku is really what worked out for me. Monday, I was in the office. I had kind of decided, this is kind of the day that I decided, I think I did it on the way to work. I just kind of decided, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with these 4 chapters anymore. I will come back to them in book 7. Once I edit the first 6 books, I'll know a whole lot more about my characters, and I might have a better idea of where I want to take this story. So that was it. I just wanted to get back. I just wanted to start something new instead of staring at the same kind of, I was going to say blank screen, but it wasn't blank because I have blank screens because I haven't written those 4 chapters yet. Yeah, so at lunch, I began moving my prequel novella from Scrivener into Novel Crafter because that's where I'm going to attempt to do all my editing. And this will actually be a really good test for Novel Crafter, where I'm actually working in a bunch of words, and I'm talking to the AI about things and that whole deal. I also added a whole bunch more codexes. Not everything, but it's got characters, objects, places, anything I could think of that would be important to the story. One of my favorite ones is I used Claude Sonnet, and I said, for chapter 1, give me all of, was it chapter 1? I can't remember if it was chapter 1 or the whole book, but I said, give me objects that you see. And I think I went in and said, you're a mystery writer, give me objects that you see that would be important to a reader, something that a reader of this kind of story would point out. And the things it gave me were really good. Like, I didn't even think of all the things, but when it gave me that list, I was like, oh wow, that makes sense too. So I'm going to do, along with characters and locations, as I'm putting the books, I'm going to do objects and things like that. So really like it. That's when I started editing chapter 1 of this prequel. Made some pretty significant changes based now on knowing how book 7 would be. I kind of wrote a lot of the description and the feel of the boardwalk near where Sam lives in book 7. So then I went back to the prequel novella, which I wrote 3 months ago, and I really looked at that first chapter and said, well, I got to change some stuff around here to match what I wrote in book 7 because I liked what I did in book 7 better. And in the end, I was adding and I was subtracting words like crazy. And by the time I was done, I was plus 13 in words. And I really didn't want to put a 13 in my spreadsheet and then put 60 minutes. It would have killed my word count. So that's literally why I'm doing this, because I don't want to hurt my average, which is, I feel like a baseball player who doesn't want that last at bat so I can win the batting champion. I don't want to fly out and miss it by 0.001. So I won't be adding the edited stuff into that spreadsheet. Tuesday, I'm in the office, and this is when the week really started to get interesting and hairy for me. I'm in the office on Tuesday at lunch. I continued, and I ended up finishing editing chapter 1. I did this inside Novel Crafter, and other than that thing I talked about with the spacing of the words as you're typing, everything was going fine. And then after I was finished, I was pretty proud of myself. I created my own prompt.
Okay.
Trying to remember what I did that was a little bit special about it. I'm gonna try to load it up real quick and see if I can get there quickly. But I'd been watching this Kate, I can't remember, Kate Robinson, I think her name is, on the Novel Crafter YouTube channel. And I had seen her a couple times go in and edit the prompts. And I'm like, I really want to try this. Instead of typing, you are a mystery writer, instead of doing something like that, actually put it in the prompt so it's just there all the time. So if you go into the prompts, you can make a copy of the general purpose prompt, I think it's called. I'm getting there. I'm almost there. Here it is. And I changed it so that, let's see, I should be able to go edit prompt somewhere. Maybe it's when I'm in, I'm not going to spend too much time trying to figure this out right now. Instructions, here it is. And I changed it so it says, you are a developmental editor specifically for the murder mystery amateur sleuth genre. You are especially knowledgeable with the hero's journey, the 3-act structure, and the story grid methodology, all the things I like. The author will ask you questions about that was part of the original prompt where they have the author will ask you questions about their story and you will answer them. And then I wrote, let's see, let's see. I added something else. Oh, no, I didn't add that. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. I said, this is something that ChatGPT does that drives me crazy. At the end of anything you ask it, it always tries to predict the future. This sets him on his journey towards solving the murder, and it's stupid. So I added to the end of this. I said, also, do not try to predict the future unless asked. Only focus on the words that are presented to you. So, and I just made that my own prompt, and that's what I've been using now as I've been going through this.
Has it actually been listening to you? Because I've tried to do that in the past, and it just, at some point, it starts ignoring it, and it just starts doing what it wants to do anyways.
So far, again, I don't use it to write prose. I just use it to ask questions about the editing. I do ask it things like, I have this sentence. How can I do a description better in this sense? And then I'll take the words that it presents, and then I'll just go in and edit it myself. I'm not doing a copy paste type thing. So far it's been fine. Again, I think it's this Claude Sonnet or this Claude Haiku instead of. I've been using ChatGPT for years to do this, and this is something new for me, and it's done pretty well for me.
Okay.
And then we get to 4 o'clock and me, it's time to go home. Now we had, and you're not going to believe this, Rich, we actually had a snowstorm that day. I know, shocking to have a snowstorm in January, considering we've had one every day for about the last 4 weeks. And it usually takes me an hour to get home. It took me a little over 2 hours to get home. There were many, many crashes that I had to do. And there was one point I was on 271 in Cleveland, which is 65 miles an hour. I just put my car in park and just sat for 10 minutes. Like, it was just rough. And then when we finally got past the accidents, I ended up on the Ohio Turnpike, and I'm going 65. The speed limit's 70. I'm going 65, and there's no traffic in front of me and none behind me for a ways, and it was great until this Jeep decided to go 75 past me. He got about 10 car lengths ahead of me in the middle lane. I'm in the right lane. He's in the middle. He hits the bridge, fishtails hard into my lane. I have to let off my gas, and then he catches it, fishtails hard the other way into the left lane, really hard, and then comes to rest as I go by up against the left cement, wall or whatever that's right there. Yeah. And I'm watching in my rearview mirror, and all I'm thinking to myself is, he's got to be breathing. Maybe he needs to change his shorts. I don't know. But like the minute that happened, I was like, yeah, I'm not going into work for a while. I just need some time to not do this driving anymore because it's really stupid in January. And so I knew at that moment I was not only working from home on Thursday, I was also going to take a half a day off and blow all that vacation stuff I talked about many times. So that night I requested to work from home on Thursday, and then I also took a half a day today, which means I went to work. It's cough. I still have this little cough. I went to work on Tuesday into the office. I won't go back until at least next Tuesday and probably Wednesday or even Thursday at the earliest, because again, just like you said, the polar vortex is going to get so far south that it hits you. Well, it's going right over top of us. And we're looking at negative temperatures on Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning. I don't really want to. I'm just so over this, Rich. I really, I'm not depressed. I'm just miserable right now.
Yeah. Well, a little bit later here, I'll tell you some things, and it'll just reinforce the idea of why you need to move south.
So I mean, I have said to myself, last week on Monday, it's dark when I walk to my office in the morning. It's it's like 6:45. It doesn't get the light out until about 11:30, it seems. And I mean, it's more like 7:30, but and there's a construction guy just standing there in a doorway waiting to start his job. I don't know who this guy is. I just looked up at him and said, "Why do I live here?" And he didn't say anything. The next day, he was standing there again, and I said, "Seriously, why do I live here?" He's like, "I ask myself the same thing every day." So it's terrible. So anyway, so I'm miserable right now. Just overall on a day-to-day basis, I'm just miserable. Which is different for me. I'm always happy, and right now I'm just like, can we just get this over with? Can we please get to February? So anyway, Wednesday I ended up working from home. Nothing really related on Wednesday. I did play around with Novel Crafter like I have been each night. Let's see. So let's talk about Wednesday night. Wednesday night, I don't want to get into the details because it's personal, not my personal, somebody else's personal. But let's just say that I was awakened at around 11 p.m. by an ambulance. I was awakened around 2 a.m. By knocking on a door and someone yelling sheriff's office. And then I was awakened again a couple hours later, around 4 a.m., by someone knocking down a door, yelling sheriff's office, let me in, breaking the door down, saying put your hands up, and then taking somebody away. And I'm not surprised about what happened here. I'm not going to not getting into the details. But I really got no sleep that night because the problem is I still have an air conditioner in my window from the summer, and it doesn't shield the sound as well as it should. So I can hear everything that's going on. And when I wake up to something like that, I'm awake. So it's not like I'm going to go back to sleep in 5 minutes. So, but I will say that I got an idea for book 6 out of this, which I'm really happy. I'm calling it an opportunistic murder is what I'm calling it. Meaning, how do I say this? Let's say there's a group of people and 2 of them get into a fight in front of everybody. And then one of those people ends up murdered. Well, the prime suspect is the other person in the fight. But in the book that I'm going to write, it's going to be basically a group of people. It's going to be your typical Agatha Christie Murder, She Wrote, where there's a whole bunch of people on vacation. They don't know each other. It's almost like Orient Express, except in this case, not everybody's going to be part of it. But somebody who the reader doesn't think knows the person is actually going to be the one who does it. And it came to my head that night when I was laying there thinking, oh my God, I could go murder that person right now and they'd think it was the other person.
Yeah.
So that was
nice.
Wednesday night, right? Yeah. So then that was Wednesday night. So then Thursday, again, worked from home on this day. This wasn't a day that I was supposed to work from home, but I don't care. I worked from home because it snowed again. I know, imagine that. And so I worked all day and then nothing writing really. I literally did nothing yesterday. Again, miserable, pajamas at 6 o'clock, couch until I go to bed at like whatever. So I go to bed last night and I don't know, maybe it's around midnight when I wake up. And I wake up this time because my power had gone out for the 3rd time in about a week in the middle of the night. The problem with that is my car charger that's mounted to my wall, when the power goes out, it lets me know that the power goes out by going beep, 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 really loud over and over again. Now, I can tell the power went out because I just open my eyes and go, oh yeah, but for whatever reason, this wall charger decides it needs to tell me and the entire neighborhood. Luckily, I can open the app and I can like turn it on and turn it off, or turn it off and turn it on, and that makes it stop. But then if the power goes out again a second time, it does it again. And I know that because that happened last week. The weird thing about that is the car charger is actually wired into the house's electric, which was out. It's also wired into the house's internet, which was also out. So I have no idea how that worked. No clue, because the phone is not connected directly to the charger. So I have no clue why that worked, but it worked every time I've done it.
That is weird. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's weird. So what I did last night is because I was worried that when the power comes back on, it might go out again, and that might happen again like it did last week. So what I did is I got up, I got dressed, and I went outside, just unplugged my car because it was full anyway. It didn't need very long to charge. So it was full anyway. And I just, waited about a half an hour, and, I kind of laid in bed. The dog is scared because he's scared of everything. And I think I woke up around midnight and went back to sleep around 2:30. Then I had to get up at 6:30. So I'm on about 5 hours sleep the last 2 nights, and I am so tired right now.
Whipped.
Finally, today, again, I worked half a day today. Nothing. So I went to the casino and lost, and just decided to come home. I really did not want to go sit anywhere. So I came home and ate lunch here. And then what I did was for about 4 hours, on and off, but mostly on, I sat and set up my author.email. I uploaded all of my lists, my lists that were there, my subscribers that were there that I had downloaded from MailerLite before they deleted all of my account data. I set up my lists, got that working. I went into BookFunnel and I made sure that all the integrations were set up correctly between these new lists. I tested it, that worked. The only thing that I was having trouble with is the automation email. They don't really have the same kind of really neat automation stuff that MailerLite has, where you can say, if somebody subscribes, send them an email immediately, and then 24 hours, send them another one, and then 7 days later, send them another one. They seem to really only have, when someone subscribes to your list, send them an email, and that's it. Or when someone, I feel there's 4 options. I don't remember what they are, but like the biggest one is someone subscribed to your list, so send them an email. There's no like recurring thing. At least I can't find it. And I'm gonna do a little more research. I'm a little disappointed in their YouTube channel. It has about 7 videos on there, and they're from 4 years ago. They don't. I really wish they would have kept that up to date. But I will say that the UI is a lot nicer than it was a year and a half ago when I first set this up. It looks like a nice web project now instead of what it looked like, year and a half ago. So I'm gonna end up paying for it at some point. I have to get my PO box straightened out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just basically invite all of my subscribers in my first email to unsubscribe if they want to. Because I'm going to say something like, listen, I haven't emailed in a couple of years. I'm going to start up. I got some books coming out soon. I have a novella coming out. If you don't remember why you were on this list, please just go ahead and jump off. There's an unsubscribe. I'm just going to put that out there and get that list down to what it actually should be, and then I'll go from there. So I'm very happy. That was not something I expected to get so far with today, but then when I just decided to come home instead of go right, I thought, well, I'm going to still do something that's author related. So I did that.
And, I mean, that counts.
Yeah, and then that was it. I kind of just sat around watching TV until it was time to podcast with you, and here we are.
Yeah, well, it's you're being so tired and everything. It's a good thing. There's nothing going on this weekend. You can catch up on a lot of sleep.
Oh.
So
I have bets. I have good bets on football games this weekend. I
figured you did.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, Saturday and Sunday for me, those were days off from the library, but I didn't do any writing. And, in some ways it makes me feel bad. In other ways, I don't really care. But when I wasn't watching football, I was kind of messing around with the materials and the GPT that's inside the Future Fiction Academy. And I think I've pretty much decided I'm going to go ahead and pay for at least the next month in February, as I really like how they've been putting things together. And I really want to investigate more of their courses and the details that are under the hood of their GPT. I'm just finding it really fascinating what they've been doing there. It's in a lot of ways, it seems to be a lot more sophisticated than even Chat GPT is. Just in a way in which it's trying to utilize the strengths of the LLMs and mitigating some of the weaknesses that they have. Unfortunately, I also ended up being charged, as I said, I wrote here noveler, but I meant novel crafter because I took my eye off the ball and forgot I had a subscription. So I'll have that program for another year or two, which might be good because I'll probably do like you're doing and build codexes off of the stuff that
I'm enjoying that. I'm really because it's almost like I'm relearning all of my characters from the first book and the second book. So I'm actually I'm enjoying that.
Yeah. Monday was a work day and we were pretty busy and shorthanded, but somehow I managed to find little cracks of time here and there. I ended up with 807 new words on the second romance novel. Then after dinner, as I think I hinted at last week, I spent the entire evening transplanting kale into some bigger grow cells. I now have a total of 215 kale plants to put out. Once we're going to be eating kale all spring and all summer, it sounds like. I was going to start hardening off my first set of kale right away at the beginning of the week, but the forecast was already starting to look like it was going to be really cold in a week or so, and I decided that, well, Matt, maybe I shouldn't harden it off right away. But I had mentioned it to my wife, and she started doing it for me. So they're going to be hardened off, and they'll be ready to plant whenever that cold front does completely pass through. Because I was looking on the other side of the cold front in the extended forecast, and on the other side, we're going to be in the 70s. So it's going to get nice really quick. Yeah. Tuesday, I didn't have to work until noon, but the morning was wasted by driving my wife around to doctor's visits, and I had to get my blood siphoned off for some blood tests before I see my doctors later this month. Once I did get to work, I swear I think people wait for me to come to work before they decide that they're going to go home sick. They would just want to make sure somebody responsible is going to show up, because as soon as I showed up, 2 of them left. Yeah, but I still managed to fit in a bunch of writing, especially between the hours of 6 and 9, because that's my late day. And I got 290 or 2,983 new words in the second romance. Some of those words and sentences even sounded like English, so that was
Nice.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so at this point, my daily average count had risen from 286, which it was last Friday, to 475, which made me feel a bit better, like you said earlier, about how how this year was going to progress.
Okay.
Wednesday was another work day, but again, it was extremely slow, not much patron traffic. So I started collecting titles for a Black History Month display I'm going to do. And you might be asking yourself, Rich, why are you, someone who, in the words of Weird Al Yankovic, is whiter than sour cream? Why,
Nice.
why are
Nice
you
white
doing a
nerdy
Black?
reference.
That's right. Why are you doing a Black History Month display? Well, it's mainly because we have no African American librarians at our branch. We do have a couple of part-time people, but they can't be asked to do stuff like that. They just come in every now and then. And I discovered while I was trying to put this together is that we are woefully bereft of important Black voices from the diaspora. And although I'm going to be able to cobble together what I think will be a pretty decent display, it's only because I'm going to expand it away from just Black history to history, but also the cultural, social, and technological contributions that African Americans have made to the United States and to our society. So we'll see what happens with that. And to make sure I don't actually step in something, I'm going to ask the two part-timers that we do have to kind of do like a sensitivity review of the kind of titles that I have chosen. Some of these are just like classics of Black literature. A lot of James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, the poet Gorman, who just was a poet laureate during Obama's years. So some of that is pretty straightforward, but some of it is going to be fiction, and I don't know if some of the novels I'm choosing are controversial or not. They're all done by African American authors, so we'll just have to see. In between doing that and helping patrons, I did manage to write 3,270 more words on that second romance, mainly because on that day we were fully staffed for once, and I could escape for a 3-hour block into the back room. So I just sat there and I wrote for 3 straight hours, and I was able to get that, which was kind of fun. It's been a while since I've done that many hours in a row. So it was a good day up until that point. But then, unfortunately, on my way home, my sister called to tell me my brother, who has serious problems with alcohol, and doesn't take care of himself one bit, was back in the hospital and in really bad shape. And actually, at that point, it was unclear whether he was going to make it through the night or not. So that kind of upset me a little bit. Not that I was going to run up there or anything, because I've done everything I can for him. And but so I ate. I took a sleeping pill, and I just went to sleep. I figured some rest would help me. I woke up in the morning. I was still kind of bummed out about my brother. But one of the things about me, and that drives my wife insane, is I have the shortest memory on record, and it takes me. I just don't get upset, and I don't hold on to things because they fall out of my RAM so fast. So I woke up. I was a bit bummed, but the library waits for no one. So I was back in at 9 o'clock. We had a couple of people out, but again, foot traffic was slow. So besides showing an older patron how to set up and use her new Samsung tablet, and this woman was probably in her early 80s, and it was a trip trying to walk her through all that, because the last time she had used a tablet was an old iPad that she had 10 years ago. But her kids bought her this one for Christmas, even though as she told me endlessly, I didn't want it. I told them I didn't want it. So it was okay. The hardest thing was to pair her tablet with her government issued phone. It was one of those, what they used to call back in the day, the Obama phones.
Okay.
And so, it's a really slow, clunky kind of phone. It was a Nokia. It took a number of tries in order to get it to pair. But what she really wanted to use her tablet for was to text, so she didn't have to text on her tiny phone. And I mean, this phone is tiny. It was like, it reminded me of a deck of playing cards. That's about how big it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe slightly longer than a deck, but it was tiny. Yeah, so I did that, but because it was slow, I had plenty of time to write, and I got a total of 2,262 words for that day. As for my brother, I talked to my sister Thursday afternoon. They had moved him into ICU, and they expected him to be there a couple days. But they do expect him to eventually recover, assuming he doesn't go back to the bottle, which is highly unlikely, unless my sister does what she's planning on doing, which is taking over his life. She's going to get him to sign a will, which he doesn't have, and he has a, even though he's been a drinker for decades now, he's amassed quite a bit of money because he always worked. He was always able to work, and he never spent anything. So, got to get something so that we don't end up in probate mess when he finally does die. But his house is a mess. It's unlivable the way it is. It would be condemned if the city came in there. So we got to figure out what to do with that. She's going to try to force him into a residential addiction center for some care, and then maybe into a senior assisted living arrangement. And take away his car, because, as she says, if he doesn't have a car, he can't go out and get alcohol. So we'll see what happens with that. So, anyways, before bed, it's a sad situation, but we've been dealing with it for years, and it makes you more. At this point, it makes me and her more angry than anything else, because you've done everything you can, but you just can't fix it. So, anyways, before bed, I harvested my 2 pots of potatoes that I planted back in October. Got about 4 pounds, or about a 4-fold increase in the potatoes I actually planted, and about 4 or 5 pounds actually was the total output, which enough for a couple of meals. It's I don't really know if it's bad or good, but I'm sure they'll taste good, and I think it's worth it me doing that again on next fall, or this coming fall. Friday today, it was another work day. Another work day in a string of 7 work days that will finish up on Sunday. I spent the morning getting together all the paperwork I needed for doing taxes, all the whatever W-2s and 1099s and all that stuff that are out there floating around. They're not all out and available yet, but a lot of them are. So I gathered all that up. I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not, probably not. But I've always done my taxes on TurboTax.
Me too.
And yeah, well, this year they've decided, and I'm on Mac. Okay. So this year they've decided that you have to have the brand new version of the Mac iOS in order to, not iOS, but Mac OS, in order to be able to use this TurboTax program this year. Well, 2 things about that. Number one, Apple didn't release that OS until December 14th. Okay. So it's brand new. And number 2, I can't load it on this machine because Apple's decided that this iMac, which is probably from 2018 or whatever, I mean, it's got 32 megs of RAM, and it's got 2 terabytes of memory, of hard memory. But apparently they decided the CPU and stuff in it just isn't good enough to run their programs. Yeah, so run the OS. And I know what's going on. It's about a year or 2 after I bought this one, Mac got back into the chip business, and they have their own chip now. So that, I think that's kind of what's going on there. They want to force people to upgrade to the new Macs, but I'm not going to do that. So this year, for the first time in probably 10 to 15 years, I'm going to do my taxes by hand, which will be, yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't have any doubt I can do it, but it's just going to take forever.
Yeah,
really, to do it. I also discovered while I was gathering up my paperwork that I'm going to have to go back on 2024 and do a bit of retconning on the author side of the business, as I kind of dropped the ball mid-year of 2024 when I realized Vella was going under, and stopped paying attention to how much I was paying for subscriptions and things like that. So I got to go back and figure all that stuff out in order to reduce because I did gross $7,000 out of Vella last year before I gave it up. So I got to find the offsetting expenses. So I show a small profit, but not much. This afternoon, I spent most of my time jumping around between circulation reference and the teen room. But I did have about an hour where I did a little bit more digging into the Future Fiction Academy stuff. And now we're here recording, and by the time we're done, bed will be beckoning. I'll have to have dinner first because I just came home, hopped on here for the recording.
Yeah, you suited up, as Barney Stinson would say. I appreciate that. Yeah,
I did suit up. Yeah, I've been watching little clips of that on YouTube. I got to sit down and just watch that show
It's a
because it
great
looks
show.
like
It's
it's
one of the
hilarious.
best. It's one of the best written sitcoms I've ever seen because they really do
Yeah.
a lot with foreshadowing and setting things up, episodes and seasons before things happen. They set it up, and it's so well written. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look at that. In terms of running list of future things to do, I've got nothing new on there. So I'll kick it over to
Um,
you.
Mine is, briefly the author.email. I started working on it today. I'm mostly done with that. And then I did add to expand the plot of book 6. This is based on the revelation I had in the middle of the night as the police were breaking down doors near me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Novel Crafter probably maybe even tomorrow and start just making notes. You can do a snippet, which is literally just a place where you put notes in there. It's not AI related. It's not a codex. And I'm just going to start putting notes in there so that when I'm ready, I can literally start plotting it in there, talk to the AI as I need to, and see if I can come up with a good plot. So those two things are the new things or the things to talk about on my list of future things to do. In terms of my addicted to, I really didn't have much. There's a YouTube channel that I've been watching a lot of lately. It's the Office Blokes. I want to say BLOK. It's a British term, right? BLOKES.
Yeah.
And these are just guys I think who work together who just react to stuff, and that's the one I've been watching the most lately. They actually have been doing a series of where they watch these quiz channels about music, and they're closer to my age than they are the 20 somethings that usually I watch react to stuff, and it's been fun watching them kind of react to different music. That's about as much as I've gotten in terms of one central thing that I've spent a lot of time watching. So
I don't think I've ever run across the Office Blokes. I'll have to check that out.
oh, okay, they're good. They have some. They also have some of the guys do their own channels. There's one guy who does a channel with his wife and his son, and they react to stuff too. And I like all those guys. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Well, my addicted to, thankfully, I fell off the biscuits and gravy addiction this past week, which my heart, I'm sure, would be very happy about. And I moved over to a more healthy, although I'm not sure how long I'll be able to keep it up, a habit of eating broccoli salad and cottage cheese for as many meals as I can.
Ooh.
Because I've got this goal, as I mentioned, beginning of the year, of losing 25 pounds this year. I think to this point, I've lost 2, which isn't really bad, but
it's good average.
I got to do something. Yeah, if I do that throughout the year, I'll definitely lose that 25 pounds. But I need to. Well, number 1 is I need to eat a little bit better when I'm eating, and number 2, I have to stop, as I did yesterday, stopping at the donut shop and getting myself a apple fritter the size of my head and eating it for breakfast. So, yeah,
it's apple though. It's probably good for you.
Well, it's true. It is a fruit, and an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not so much the dentist, but definitely the doctor. Okay. So my schedule coming up this week, tomorrow, and I know this is gonna. I can see you're sitting down. That's good because tomorrow it's gonna snow. Shocker there. So only a couple of inches. So I'm probably gonna get up early. I think it's gonna start in the middle of the night. So maybe dig out if I have to, and then hopefully go to Chick-fil-A. Get into chapter 2 of my prequel novella, and then home to watch some football. It's NFL playoffs this weekend. 2 games on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. I love that. So Sunday I'll do Panera in the morning as usual, and then football after. Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and we are it's a work holiday, so I am off. So I plan on continuing to edit the novella somewhere. I'll go somewhere, and then I'll come home for I have nothing planned. So I'll play my football game a little bit. I've been playing I just started playing the 1972 NFL season where the Dolphins went 17-0. So I've been playing some Dolphins lately, having some fun with that. So I don't know what I'm going to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm supposed to go in the office 3 days next week. But because Monday's a holiday, I have to go 3 of those last 4 days. But it's going to be below 0 Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning when I'm supposed to be walking the 2.5 blocks that I have to walk. I really don't want to deal with that. I'm pretty confident the car will be okay, but this will be the coldest that it's sitting out all day. And I haven't seen any evidence that it loses its charge throughout the day when it's cold. When I turn the car off and at 6:45 in the morning and it's 50% still left, and then I go back to the car at 4:30 and it's still 50%. It doesn't lose anything throughout the week. I just don't know how it's going to react. So I may work from home Tuesday and then go into the office Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Or I may work from home Tuesday and Wednesday, take a work from home day, and only work Thursday and Friday. I have no idea. I'm playing it by ear. But whatever days I go into the office, those will be the days that I do some editing. I think I talked about it last week, but I want to start trying to get to the library more, at least once a week during a lunch break. So I may try to do that this week if I have a day where it works out okay. And then Friday we'll podcast in the evening. My goal for next week is to get through the editing of at least the first 5 chapters of the novella. I think I have 26 chapters in there. It might even be 21 chapters. I'm not sure, but I want to get through the first 5. I think I can get that far, and I actually think I can get farther, especially with the holiday. My next 3 days, I can sit for a couple hours. It's not a lunch break at work, so I should be able to get through it pretty quick. But yeah, that'll be my goal. So that's the week. It's again just trying to get through January. Awful.
Well, if it gets cold enough up there, you may be able to turn your entire electrical system of your car into a superconductor and get 10,000 miles on a charge. Who knows?
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, you have to get down to mine's 273 Kelvin or something. But
well, it's. I mean, listen, the way January is going, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Holy cow!
All right, this coming week for me, Saturday and Sunday tomorrow, and the next day I have to work both days. And when I'm not working, I'll be watching as much football as I can. I believe the Lions are playing late tomorrow, so I should be able to at least catch the last part of the game tomorrow. We do have a winter storm coming. The same one that's going to hit you. Our lows, however, are not predicted to be below 0, but they are going to be in the mid-20s or possibly even lower. Possibility of ice and snow, maybe as much as 5 inches. So the library, I expect, will be a morgue this weekend because people will be preparing for what they consider to be an apocalypse. If it is a morgue, I'm going to be doing as much writing on that second romance novel as I can. I might actually even get into some kind of 10,000 foot developmental editing with the help of the Rexy GPT. That's what they call their GPT, Rexy, inside the Future Fiction Academy. It looks pretty interesting. I may just piddle around with that a little bit on that first romance novel. Have it tell me how well what I've done so far aligns with what my general structure has been, which is the 12 phase romancing the beat structure for romance novels. Once I get home, though, on tomorrow and Saturday, for sure, I'll have to go outside and start covering the plants that I might have some hope of saving. Although, as we get closer and closer next week, the predicted temperatures are going lower and lower. And if we really do touch 20 or below 20 for a couple days in a row, which is kind of what they're predicting right now, I'm not going to save anything. Everything's going to be dead. So it doesn't much. I'll just have to replant stuff. Monday, I get off for Martin Luther King holiday, so I'll be at home on Monday. I'm certain Tammy's going to have me some things that she wants me to do, especially after I work 7 straight days. But I would like maybe for a little bit on Monday to circle back to that second romance and clean up a few things in the earlier chapters that I already know need to be changed given what I've written in a couple of the later chapters. I'll probably also do a bit of household stuff, maybe a bit of editing in the first romance. We'll see. Maybe even get some new words. Who knows? Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday. This is when we're really supposed to get hit. That day, as I wrote this outline earlier, that day was up in the air. We might get a winter remix, I said. And even if there's even a very small chance of it happening, everything will shut down preemptively. So if I do have to go to work at noon, which I normally would do, I would be concentrating on completing the gathering materials for the Black History display, and if time allows, a bit of writing or editing. Right after I hit that period for editing, we got an email that said, we're closed on Tuesday. It might be bad. So we're going to close
5
on
days
Tuesday.
early?
Yes. We might even close on Wednesday. We'll let you know.
Wow. So, I will say that you said that the temperatures are going to get down to like 20. They're not going to get as bad as they are for me. But I feel like the people down there who have lived there all their life, they're going to treat it worse than I will at 5 below, 15 below 0. You're going to treat your 20 degrees above 0 much worse than my 10 degrees below or so.
People walk around in parkas here when it's in the 50s. So yeah. They definitely will. So yeah, if it does, typically they predict 3 to 5 inches. I think if we get an inch or two, we'll be lucky. And if they do, I'm going to go out there and make like a little 6-inch snowman. Nice. When I get home in the evening.
That'll be good for your social media stuff right there.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometime during the day or on Wednesday, I need to get out if I can to do some blood tests. I would have no problem going out there and driving around, but I am scared to death of the other drivers that are around here who have not driven in snow or something. So, and it does not look like it's going to warm up enough during the day. If we do get some snow or God forbid ice, that is going to melt. So we may just spend a couple of days indoors, which will be okay. So Wednesday, up in the air. We'll see what happens. If I'm home, great. I'll be able to do a lot of writing and piddling around. If not, I'll still try to find some time. Thursday and Friday are days off for me. So I plan to sleep in late on those days, have a big breakfast, and then probably after that, take a nap before noon. And so I should be ready to do something useful by the afternoon. And it could be anything from housework to editing or writing. I'll just have to see how things pan out. I do want to keep on trying to push, like I said earlier, the envelope of getting words done early this year. So I'm not getting towards the back end of the year and worrying about whether I'm going to make that 200,000 word goal or not. So that's going to be my week coming up. A lot of it's up in the air until we see what happens with the weather. In terms of stuff to share, I got two things I'd like to drop. One is that I just happened to jump onto YouTube before I left for home today and noticed that Brandon Sanderson is going to be broadcasting his 2025 lecture series at BYU.
Oh, nice.
And he put out the first video today, where he does does a little bit of an introduction, and then cuts to the actual class itself, which has become substantially bigger than what it was back in the 2020 or whatever it was. He's moved into a big lecture hall, and as he said, he's going to be talking at you from anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half each week. So nice. It should be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much it follows from his previous course, how much he's added. He's had substantial success since then, doing a lot of different interesting things in terms of Kickstarter and building his own business and stuff. We'll see how much of that filters into the course that he's teaching there at BYU. And the other one I want to mention is I ran across a new podcast for me anyways, and it's called Ink in Your Veins. It's hosted by Rachel Herron. She teaches at Stanford, but she's also the Rachel Herron of fast drafting fame. I don't know if you ever ran across her back in maybe 8 years ago. She had a couple of books out about fast drafting, doing 5,000 words an hour.
What's her name?
She was on Joanna Penn's.
Joanna Penn used to have her multiple times on her podcast. I knew that name sounded familiar. Yes.
Those old books are gone, but she does have a new book in the nonfiction writing sphere called Fast Drafting Your Memoir. I haven't taken a look at her at all, but I did listen to one of the podcasts on the way home, and it's decent. She has a guest, but she keeps them short. The podcasts run from 30 minutes to an hour. It's focused on bite-sized chunks that you can take away and do something with in either your writing or author business. So, and she's got a pleasant voice to listen to. So that's worth a look. She's got 483 episodes out. I didn't go back to see when she first started, but she must have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, I'm really curious when that first one, like 2012.
Yeah, it's something. She might have started right around when Joanna Penn did.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, check it out.
All right. I don't have anything to share. I was going to talk about Novel Crafter, but I talked about it earlier. So we are good there. With that's going to be the end of the podcast for this week. Rich, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm spilled it all now.
All right. That works. All right. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can email me, jerry@jerryevanoff.com. The website is jerryevanoff.com. It's actually up on the page right now if you're watching on YouTube. You can get you can go to, if you want to watch on YouTube, youtube.com/@newauthorpodcast. And then if you're watching on YouTube and you just want to listen, you can go to any of your podcasting apps and just search New Author Podcast. And we have a Patreon that I will put right here now that you can come in and join if you want to. And there you go.
Yeah, if you want to talk to me, my email address is rich@richkacy.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Blue Sky at Kacy himself. And oh boy, I tell you what, on Blue Sky, I got hit by the bots today. First thing this morning, I got up and Stephen King had posted something about questioning whether the Oscars should go on, and be all glitzy and everything, given what's happening out in Los Angeles with the fires. And I just, posted something to the effect of, they can have it, but the dress code should be business casual, and the awards ought to be presented by actual firefighters.
I like that.
Yeah. And, so I got a lot of comments, because he's got, tens of thousands of followers. So I got a lot of comments on my thing, and then the bots hit. So the bots must look for people who are getting comments. And then my account was being spammed, and I did a lot of blocking today, but I also did pick up a few new real followers.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
All right, everyone, that is going to be it for the podcast. I am going to go to sleep. And Rich, what are we looking at next week? Earlier or later?
Next week. Yeah. Next week I'm off. So
you're off.
Yeah, we can do it early.
All right. If I go into the office, it'll be like closer to 5:30, 6 o'clock. So.
Okay. That'll be fine.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening or watching. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Yeah. Have a great week, everybody.